What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno to you as well. How are you on this? We had the earliest recording ever now to date. Well, it's 5 by the time we got around to it, but we were planned to start on around 4:30 and something like that, which could have been the earliest. And then we just hang out, we start talking,
Sometimes
we start gabbing, and then and just here it is.
You know how us old gossips are.
Yeah, just like to shoot shit, find out what's new, hear all that hot, sweet goss.
Mostly just hear it from Birdie, who was doing some big awoos before we started.
Big ol' woofs today. We've started tradition with Bird, where now, since she's getting more walks, and it's easier for us to take her on more walks, after she has a walkie, she gets a talkie. And so we howl with her, and it's a very, bonding experience.
It is wonderful. Funny because when I was walking up to the door, I could hear them inside howling. And then as soon as I knocked, Birdie's woofs changed entirely from we are having a fun, cool time here to, oh my God, we are in imminent danger. I need to alert mother and father.
And then she just sat there just going, barking at
What a dumb dog.
Oh, she's silly. She's silly. But there are some silly dogs out there, and they're not here listening to this show, but you are. I'm working on these.
Not one of your better
transitions.
You know
you have a transition.
I thought maybe you were going to segue into Nintendogs.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well.
That could have been good. That could have been better. But oh well. Today's episode is about our favorite video game dogs, everyone. No, it's not. That is a good one, though. We should do that. Write that down, somebody, for later. Tell us about it.
Video game dogs.
But if you wanted to hear us talk about video game dogs, you can do that on Thursdays when the new episodes come out each and every week. And you can listen to those on podcast services around the World Wide Web, as well as watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that are in the description below. You can find us on social media at Facebook, Threads, and Instagram, as well as join our Discord server where we have a lot of great conversation when we're not here recording the show. And finally, if you'd like to help make Team Chat Podcast bigger and better, you can head over to patreon.com. That's the website I was wanting to say, /Team Chat Podcast. There's the appropriate placement there, where you, for as little as $1 a month, can support the show, just like Allison H., Ark, Brandon W., Bro Mogan, Super Saiyan Ace, Erica L., Elise F., James K., Michael B., Michael S., Snooty Boots, Susan M., and Zach S. have done. And in return, we give you cool perks like getting the episodes early, before their general Thursday release, and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery, and a lot of extra goodies along the way. But if you would like to check that out, again, that's patreon.com/Team Chat Podcast. And if you can't support us over on Patreon, well, that's also no big deal at all. We totally understand. There's a lot of great ways that you can support the show for free, such as telling your friends, writing us reviews, and, subscribing. That was the other one I was trying to think of. Subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. Smash it! Smash it, everyone. And that as well helps get the great word of Team Chat Podcast out there to the masses. And for that, we are grateful to each and every one of our viewers, listeners, and patrons alike. Heart emoji.
Smooches, XOXO.
But it's time, Mogan, to move on to the moment with Mogan.
Well,
but I know
actually, I think we should do our first bit of news because it directly affects me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Normally, this is when we would jump over to our moment with Mogan, where we would talk about the games that are coming soon or out now. And a big part of that was due to Game Informer putting out a list of every year, updated constantly with a list of here are the games that are coming out with their appropriate release dates and all that. Well, it is a sad day in the video game world because as of last Friday, that would be August 2nd, I believe, Game Informer, the longest running U.S. gaming magazine, shuts down after 33 years. This is a headline, an article from PC Gamer by Morgan Park.
Before this, I didn't realize that Game Informer was the longest running gaming publication. Because
I was listening to this morning the Kind of Funny Games Daily, where they were talking about this also. And that's what Greg Miller was saying, that he was just like, it's not that it's it's the longest because it's the last one in America.
Yeah.
And so it really kind of sucks because, I'd been a subscriber for a little bit. I definitely didn't have the touch point with Game Informer that a lot of people did growing up, having read it from I believe 1991 was its first issue.
Physical magazine publication.
Yeah. Another one, unfortunately, has gone by the wayside. So anyway, in this article, GameStop abruptly closed the Minneapolis-based publication on Friday. So apparently this morning, GameStop abruptly, again, August 2nd, GameStop abruptly pulled the plug on Game Informer magazine and website, laying off its entire staff as it was, quote, about 70% done, end quote, with the next issue, according to content director Kyle Hilliard. The official Game Informer X account shared a farewell message titled The Final Level Farewell from Game Informer, found below, which that statement says, after 33 thrilling years of bringing you the latest news, reviews, and insights from the ever-evolving world of gaming, it is with a heavy heart that we must announce the closure of Game Informer. From the early days of pixelated adventures to today's immersive virtual realm, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers. While our presses may stop, the passion for gaming that we've cultivated together will continue to live on. Thanks for being part of our epic quest, and may your own gaming adventures never end. The sudden closure comes after a turbulent period for the Minneapolis-based magazine, facing pressure from struggling owner GameStop. Game Informer had already gone through multiple rounds of layoffs since 2018, reducing the outlet's size. In March 2024, Game Informer launched a new subscription detached from GameStop's rewards program for $19.91 a year. Before $19.91 a year. Before today's developments, the GI staff seemed pretty happy with how it was going. The article goes on to say that it remains unclear if what they're gonna do for existing subscriptions and as far as refunds. But the other big part of this is that the website is gone.
It's gone. They obliterated it from the face of the planet.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't want to pay to maintain even the domain.
Yeah.
Which is $20. It's not that much.
Well, and it's not speaking from the monetary side, but the content side, that 33, maybe 33 years of content, because I'm sure they uploaded the magazine in some ways to their website. You had those old articles that you could go back and research, and it's just gone.
I'm sure that you will probably be able to find anything that they posted online through Internet Archive.
Right, you
can.
But
that's really having to dig for something,
Yes.
as opposed to being able to go to the now defunct website as an archive on its own. It just really sucks.
It's a shitty situation already that yet again another round of layoffs. And, spoiler alert to the second story we're going to talk about today, Bungie also had another big round of layoffs, another 220 people, dropping their size to now around 850-ish employees. And so it's these keep happening. The hits keep coming in terms of layoff and just businesses not being able to run appropriately, apparently, and figure things out. It's no secret that magazine publications and everything have suffered, in the digital age and everything. And I know that's a big pivot to change to running a business for a print magazine as opposed to going to an online. And it's cool that Game Informer was able to hold out for so long as they did, and we're able to be one of the last bastions of print media. But it sucks that has to be the way it ends, so abruptly, so suddenly, and no way to revisit the content unless you have physical the magazines still in your possession.
Remember back when we did our episode about going through their top 100 games of all time?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we were gonna eventually do that again.
I know, when they came out with their next list, but
I guess not anymore.
I'm pretty sure I still have that issue. I kept a few.
It's worth money now, Jarrett.
It might be. And their final issue is supposed to still come out, or is not that one that was 70% done. That one is not coming out, I don't think, but from the article. But the one that they worked on before that one is coming out, which is their Dragon Age Veilguard cover story and stuff. So now that it might be worth something for people getting that one. But it just is a terrible situation. It sucks a lot, and obviously we're thinking of everyone who has lost a job and now trying to find out what's next on the horizon and stuff like that. And so hopefully they'll be able to relocate soon and get back on their feet. But it just sucks that, again, another big layoff. It continues to keep happening. That's why the union work needs to keep popping up, like what we've seen at Bethesda. And
yes, it does.
I did see one the next week. Part of Activision Blizzard's QA team also unionized.
Oh, nice. So, oh, God, that cannot be an enviable job. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm sure not. So steps made, but also big steps back.
Yeah, so, what a bummer.
It is unfortunate to see. So out of respect for Game Informer, we won't be reading you what's coming out soon. You can do your own damn research this month.
But I did have
Okay, just kidding.
Unfortunately, we're having to pivot, so now I'll be getting my information going forward from Eurogamer. We're having to go outside the US for this kind of information now, and they do actually write the dates a little different on the list.
Oh, no.
They do 8th August. Instead of August 8th.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, it infuriates
I thought
me.
they were doing like the, what is it? If they do day, month, year?
Yes,
oh,
they do.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Get out of here with that.
Anyways, thank you, Eurogamer, for continuing to publish these. All right, so as of today's air date on August 8th, here's what's out now. Cat Quest 3, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my God. Incredible.
It's out for PC, Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and S. We also have Steam World Heist 2 for PC, Switch, PS5 and 4, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One. Oh, wow. Preserve Early Access is now available for PC. And then on the 9th, we have The Crush House for PC. We also have on the 14th, Sam and Max, The Devil's Playhouse Remaster.
Oh, wow.
For PS4, PS5, PC, Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S. And then rounding us out into next week, Kena Bridge of Spirits is getting its port to Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One. So can't wait to see that one.
So that's making the jump completely, because I think it used to be, it was an exclusive, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
that's pretty cool.
Now everybody that couldn't play Kena before, it is available now.
Yeah,
Kena?
that's awesome.
What did we decide it's actually
I think we
called?
went with Kena.
It's
I think
Kena.
it's Kena
Sorry,
Bridge of Spirits.
it's just a knee-jerk reaction to say Kena. Kena Bridge of Spirits
I
is now
honestly
available
didn't think about it
for-
until you questioned it. Then I was like, oh yeah, maybe it is different.
I should have just gone with my heart and not brought it up. And that is everything that is out now and coming very soon.
Very cool. I'm pretty sure, and I don't remember if we talked about it last month or last week's episode, but is Valorant out yet for PS5?
Ooh.
I feel like it might be.
Is it?
Because I'd be down to try that. I know you would
I
talk
was
about
about
wanting
to
to
say,
try it out.
I would have assumed that I would have heard from you or Snooty Boots by now
thought
if it were already out.
So, isn't it coming for PS5? Didn't we know this?
Valorant
3
gets-
days ago.
Oh
it's
my
out!
God.
Shit!
Jesus. Okay, we got to go. Man, if we had Game Informer around.
God, we would have known. Okay, so now it's out.
All right, we got to go try Valorant.
I knew I thought I saw something earlier today and was like, did that come out? But I was like, oh, it's got to be soon then. That's surprising and exciting. All right, cool. We got to try that
I
out.
have to finish my Dishonored 2 final run, and then we can go play Valorant.
How long do you think you got on
I
that?
am already halfway through.
Oh, hell
The
yeah.
final run has basically no rules except for the couple of... Well, no, it's not no rules. It's the no powers run.
Oh, okay.
So as long as you're not playing it with powers, which is a singular choice, like you make that decision in the beginning of the game, there's nothing else.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not like you just have to, don't hit the button.
No.
Oh,
so
you choose to not play it that way.
in
That's
the
cool.
universe of Dishonored, everybody gets their supernatural powers, and by everybody I mean a very small select group of people that are chosen by a figure called the Outsider, who is like this supernatural being that comes from another world, air quotes, called the Void. He's the one that comes around and bestows these supernatural abilities upon people that he thinks are good enough for them, I guess. So usually by about the second mission in the game, like the first mission will end, which is sort of your tutorial mission, and then in the second mission, you are given the choice by the Outsider, like, hey buddy, I see you're going around Dunwall killing a bunch of people. I personally love that, and I would love to help you kill people more efficiently. Would you like to accept my mark and gain some dark, horrible powers? And you're like, hell yes, buddy, give me that mark on my hand.
Huh, okay, that's cool.
Yes, actually, it's really funny. In the first Dishonored game, sorry, this is a real Dishonored sidestep, but in the first Dishonored game, everything kicks off when Corvo's secret beloved Empress Jessamine gets murdered.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to solve her murder and also help her daughter, Emily Caldwin, regain her rightful throne. So an Empress dies. Then in the second game, assuming that you pick the Corvo run, Emily, who is now Empress, gets turned into stone.
Oh, shit.
So then when you meet the Outsider, he's like, Corvo, my friend, do I have to say it? You've lost another Empress. And it's like, damn, sick burn, buddy. I know, you didn't have to say it. Anyway, so the Outsider rules. So you can basically choose accept powers or don't accept powers. And that means that you, first of all, don't get the supernatural abilities. Neither do you get things like double jump.
Oh.
A little bit faster agility, the ability to fall from greater heights and not instantly die. So it's not just the powers, it's also all of the like bodily enhancements you get. So it is tough.
That's
and
cool.
My aim is bad. So I'm trying to do like just a weird little mix of like only killing people I have to and doing a little bit of stealth, but also wanting to just get to the goal.
Yeah, because you've played the game now three times in very
quick succession.
Yeah.
But the Flesh and Steel run is really fun. I just need to finish the game with no powers, kill Pedro Pascal's character 3 times. I've already killed him once, just 2 more times to go. And then I have to read a bunch of pieces of paper on a boat, which is one that I apparently missed the first time around.
There you go.
And then I will have platinumed the game, and I'll be done, and I'll never have to go back to it. But it's such a good game. I probably will
go back
at
to it at
some point. Yeah, we'll go back to it at some point.
Nice. Very cool. Very
cool. Maybe they'll make Dishonored 3.
Maybe one day they'll surprise you. Maybe they'll choose to gift that to you. Just
Come on, Arcane Leon, be cool about this.
Do you think that will come first, or Silk Song?
Oh gosh, Dishonored 3. They're probably starting development today, and it'll be out before Silk Song comes out.
Man,
everybody at Arcane Leon is like, "Why are we sneezing so much? Who's talking about us? It's me. I'm talking about you."
Trying to will it into existence.
I will make this happen for me.
I tell you what, though. Dishonored 3 would be a huge surprise, but you know what also is a big surprise? These games that we're going to be talking about today. Redeemed it.
That was a transition. That was a sick transition, bro.
Redeemed myself there.
Yeah.
Because last week's episode, we talked about our biggest disappointments. And it was a suggestion given to us by a friend of the show and patron, Snooty Boots. He followed it up immediately after over in Rogue's Gallery with another suggestion for our biggest gaming surprises.
Yes.
So, surprise, surprise, we're here with a follow-up because we're like, that's too good to put any distance between. We need to just do a back-to-back follow-up of our surprises to our disappointments.
And we're already in the mindset.
Oh, yeah.
And
we've been thinking.
Just to be clear, the defining difference between a disappointment versus a surprise, because I actually had to stop myself on this one.
Yeah.
I almost tried to put a game on my list for a surprise because the game was bad. And then I was like, wait a second, that's just a disappointment. So that's the difference.
Yeah, no, these are games that we originally we still made the decision to purchase them, but like they hit another level or another thing for us that we were just like, wow, this is not what I expected.
We're also, at least for me, I can't talk about Life is Strange 1 again. Even though it is the biggest surprise that caught us both out of nowhere. We already talked about it last time and 1,000 times before. Put it off your list.
I'll take it off my list. It was on there. Because I was going to be like, great, we can do a cool thing about how Life is Strange 2 was a disappointment, but Life is Strange 1 was a cool surprise. But no, apparently we can't do that. Fine.
Hilarious. Anyways,
Life is Strange 1 was a huge surprise, and I loved it, and I was surprised how much I loved it. There.
Okay, nice. Still got it in there. But before we do actually transition to the surprises, after the disappointments episode aired, we did get a couple of people in the Discord submitting their gaming disappointments, which we love to see, so thank you very much for telling us about those. Kicking us off with video game disappointments, submitted on his birthday, no less.
Happy birthday.
Morblin, aka Bro Mogan, said Final Fantasy 16 was unfortunately mid.
Oof.
The combat was fun for a while, and the story was pretty good, but it didn't really feel like a Final Fantasy game. The exploration was boring, the side quests were all fetch quests, and even the combat lost its luster after about 15 hours. I dropped the game a while back and instantly forgot about it. I think it would make a good movie or TV show, but the gameplay was generic. And then he goes on to say another disappointment was Mario Wonder.
Wow, it's not surprising. Often you hear a Mario game being a disappointment.
It's not, but to be honest, that brief time that Yumi and Sam played Mario Wonder, I was kind of like, I don't know about this game, because I was thinking about getting it for myself, and now I'm really kind of glad I didn't, because I think I would have been in the same camp as Bro Mogan of sort of viewing it as a disappointment, because he says he was so excited for a new Mario game because Odyssey is the GOAT, but Wonder was, again, very mid. It was fine, it had some neat ideas, but it ultimately lacked even a semblance of a challenge to keep me engaged. And I think that that's definitely true in Mario Wonder, at least.
I think Mario Wonder splits its play styles a little bit, because I watched Sam play the majority of it, and there were some levels in there that she was like, oh, this one's tough. But then there were a lot of ones that I did see her just kind of be able to breeze through pretty easily. I don't remember what they were called now, but there are some special missions where you can that are more difficult, throw more of a challenge in there. There's one that everything. Oh, what is it? It's like either the blocks go invisible after you touch them, or they become visible when you land on them. And there's only like one block at a time, and you're trying to like being chased by lava while like jumping up vertically and across.
Nice.
Really hard and really difficult.
Fun.
So there are like challenging aspects, but yes, I kind of agree with that too, with just what I've seen of Mario Wonder also. Then let's see what else we have down here. We had Snooty Boots comes back with another one of his disappointments. He talked about Overwatch 2, which is what got us talking about that in our last episode. But he says one of his biggest disappointments would be Halo Infinite. During development of the game, it looked really cool and very reminiscent of Halo 3 multiplayer that I loved. They even advertised it as such. But upon coming out, the mechanics were similar, but off. Not necessarily bad, but just didn't feel right to me. This combined with the poor matchmaking and horribly forgettable maps made me drop it pretty quick. I would say to that one, I kind of agree. Like, I know the campaign itself. I haven't even touched the campaign. I've only played the multiplayer of Halo Infinite. And I know that Infinite itself overall was met with kind of disappointment from everybody. I would say, though, Snooty Boots, maybe revisit the Infinite multiplayer. I go back every once in a while, and I have a pretty damn good time. It's a fun shooter still, and definitely like scratches that Halo itch for me whenever I need it. I think they've made enough adjustments. They've started throwing in old maps from previous games too. So maybe give that one another shot. It's pretty fun.
He's not going to have time because we're all playing Valorant now.
Yeah,
Don't give him any
that's
ideas.
And then the second one for him is an oldie, Ratchet Deadlocked. This is the fourth main series installment in the Ratchet & Clank series, and they made some pretty weird changes that made it not as fun to me. They made the whole game mission based inside an arena, so you couldn't explore other planets. The gadgets were only really used in the missions, so there was no Zelda-esque exploration where you could go back to a previous area to discover secrets. And the weapons had 100 levels, but the only one that really mattered was when you fully upgraded them, so it made leveling up mindless and boring.
Bummer.
Huh, that is a bummer. I've not played Ratchet Deadlocked. And then let's see, I think we had one more in here. Yes, from Ark. If you want to read this one.
Yeah, so Ark said, my biggest gaming disappointments tend to be because I'm a filthy casual gamer who likes the vibes but doesn't need too much challenge. Tunic was a recent example of this as a gaming disappointment for me. I have heard that Tunic is quite difficult. I'm not sure if it's the combat. I think some of it is the puzzling aspect to it, but I couldn't swear to that, and I'm not sure if that's what turned Ark off to the game. But I know that it's a tough one for a lot of people.
Cool.
I think it's one of those ones where you actually really need to use the booklet that comes with the game.
Oh, really?
Because there's no readable like human language in the game.
Oh.
Part of the game's puzzle is the in-game text that you get, which are your tutorials and your signs. Every written piece of text in the game is in their made-up language.
Oh, interesting.
So you kind of have to figure out what the made-up language is, and the booklet helps with that. So it's got like clues, and you can sort of go through it, and I was like, oh my God, this seems like a lot of work.
What do you do if you bought it digitally? I guess they have a PDF.
I don't know.
Can I get a PDF on a flash drive?
I just remember
please?
looking at the booklet and thinking, like, this seems useful. This seems like something
cool.
you probably need.
The art style of Tunic looks really fun. I haven't played it yet and everything, but it looks like a pretty fun time.
It does have an excellent soundtrack.
Oh, well,
so even if you don't like the game, or if you think you're never going to play the game, go check out the soundtrack because it is really good.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. Well, other than the Life is Strange 1 that I can't talk about, but I was still surprised by, what games were some of your biggest surprises?
Well, since I killed off your first one, do you want me to start?
Yes, please. Because now I have to think of something else.
Think of a third one. Well, so this is actually, we somehow haven't talked about it really at all yet, at least not in any sort of depth. But this is such a great opportunity for me to finally give some preliminary thoughts on Odin Sphere.
Oh,
remember?
Man,
so
yes.
Before I went back to Dishonored, and I feel like I had another game that I got briefly obsessed. Oh, Coral Island. So before I got obsessed with Coral Island, before I went back to Dishonored 2 and got obsessed with that again, before that, I was just dicking around on the, because I've got like the PS Plus, not the premium version, but like the middle ground one, whatever the middle ground one is. That gives
Extra?
Extra, yes. So I've got PS Plus Extra.
Extra.
Read all about it. Anyways, which gives you access to a bunch of additional games that are considered to be in the PS Plus catalog. So you just get to download all kinds of games as long as they're in the catalog. So I was just browsing the catalog looking for any games that came out that I feel like I missed and would be free and I would be able to go back and get them. And Odin Sphere was on that list. And the only reason that I picked it up at all is because when I was really young, like 10, maybe 15 years old, in like the early 2000s and the mid 2000s, I started seeing art from games that I could not really identify or that were briefly featured on XPlay. And then I never actually got, I was a kid with no money. It's not like I could afford every game on planet Earth like I almost can now. So I remember seeing little bits and pieces of art from this game called Odin Sphere, and then another one called, what is it, Blade of Masumura or something like that? I'm not sure that's what the title is actually called. But the point I'm trying to make is both of them were very visually striking, and both were from Vanillaware. So Vanillaware is one of those like rare studios that makes batshit crazy games that you're playing the game and you're like, who is this for? I mean, I am having fun, but like, who was their buyer persona when they started making this game? Because they seem so niche that you're like, how would anyone other than me enjoy this game? That's how I feel about Odin Sphere. So I think Odin Sphere originally came out, I want to say, between approximately 05 to 08.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
in my head,
old.
I thought this was like current.
No.
Because you got into it recently, yes?
Yes, I got into it recently.
It was a new game that just came out and, knocked your socks off.
No, so it came out a long, long time ago, but it got at least enough of a cult following that it did eventually get a remastered edition, which is called Odin Sphere Lightriser, Lightriser. I forget what it's some sort of Scandinavian word that I can't remember off the top of my head. But the point is, the remaster actually got a ton of quality of life features added in. So I know the original game, which came out in like the PS2 era and like kind of early on in the PS2 era, had quite a few problems. It had quite a few problems as far as the quality of life features went. But Lightriser, or the remaster, like totally fixed those.
Yeah.
Because I'm playing through the game and I'm like, this game fucking rules. It is so fun. It is so weird. So the gist of Odin Sphere is that you are in this fantasy land. I forget what they call it, but you play eventually as 5 different characters. Potentially more than that. Those are just the 5 that I know of. You start out playing... I should have looked this up beforehand. I don't remember her name. Oh, it's something. I want to call her Odette because she wears a cute little swan outfit, but I know that's not true. Her name is definitely not Odette. It's maybe something Scandinavian because her sister's name is like... Never mind, I forgot her name also. Anyways, it doesn't matter. What is her name? Hurry, Jared. It's going to kill me to not be able to remember.
Synopsis. All right. 2 main nations at the game's beginning. The names. Oh my god, like so much backstory.
Oh my god, why is there so much backstory on this?
Because
wiki?
this game's from 2007 and it's had a lot of time.
2007. Okay, that answers one of our questions. It's from 07. Oh my god.
Oh,
what?
Alice. Just Alice.
No. Oh,
She's reading a story.
Yet Gwendolyn. Her name is Gwendolyn. So yes, the narrative framing device of the game is that a little girl named Alice is basically just chilling in like a tower library with an adorable black kitty, by the way, and she picks books off the shelves, and then your gameplay is whatever book she's reading. So the first chapter of the game, and I'm using chapter there very loosely because the game is broken into chapters, but not in a different way. So the first book she picks up is Gwendolyn's book. And Gwendolyn is the daughter of Odin, which is not actually the mythological figure as we would know him. He's just a dude.
Oh, okay.
He's just like king of hell or something, and it's like, okay, weird. All right, whatever. Sure. But he's at war with some other people. A bunch of shit happens. Gwendolyn's sister dies. She's clearly not the favorite child, so it's like, damn, Dad. She like loses a fight, and then her dad sells her to some dude in marriage and strips her of all her powers, and it's like, wow, this shit sucks. But it's about you fighting back against that, at least in this first chapter. Then later, once you eventually beat Gwendolyn's storyline, you go back to Alice in the Tower, and she picks another book off the shelf, and this time you're playing as the cursed prince Cornelius. And then you beat Cornelius's line, and then she goes and gets another book off the shelf, and then I think you're playing as Mina, I don't know, she's a little fairy girl. And then eventually you're playing as her much cooler half-sister, Gwendolyn's half-sister, Velvet. She's like a cool witch, and she's got like a really neat weapon and a really cool outfit. And then I think and then you finally play as male protagonist.
Jim.
whose name we'll call him Jim, whose name I also don't remember because I haven't gotten that far. I beat Gwendolyn's story, and I am halfway through Cornelius' story, and then I got totally sidetracked by Coral Island.
Happens.
So the TLDR here is everything about Odin Sphere was surprising because this is one of those games where I just had zero expectations other than those very vague recollections of a very cool art style, which I am so happy to report really holds up. I mean, I'm sure they kind of gave it a new glossy mask when they did the remaster, but I don't think it would have been necessary to make that game look good in modern times. So it is essentially a hack and slash 2D side-scrolling game. But what's interesting is each of the levels, even though they are on a flat plane, imagine a flat plane that is a circle. Like imagine you took a roll of toilet paper.
Okay.
And it's a circle all the way around, but it's a flat plane. That's how the levels work. So when you start walking to the right on any level, you eventually circle back around to where you started.
Weird.
And you can also do the same going to the left side. And the way that you get from place to place is there are just sections of each of these 2D planes that are portals to other places, doors.
Okay.
So it's fascinatingly built. I can't imagine what the actual map would look like if you actually tried to lay it out flat, because it would be insane.
Wow.
But the combat itself is really what makes the game super fun, because if you've got a hack and slash that isn't fun to hack and slash, what is the point? So each of the characters that you can be have expansive skill trees, and you go around, and as you beat minor bosses and explore the levels, you find these like crystals that give you access to more powers. So depending on how many of those you find, you can have a maxed out skill tree, and you can pick and choose from any of the powers you want in any combination you want, and it is super duper fun. But if you're just sort of speed running and you're not really paying attention, you can totally miss powers on your tree.
Oh, wow.
And you have the ability to quick map, I want to say 4 of your abilities, because you can map them to the D-pad, I think, and then just whip them out in battle as long as you've got the mana to pay for them. And there are so many. I mean, we say hack and slash because each frame of battle is like wall-to-wall enemies.
Oh, wow.
It's basically about finding out the optimal ways to chain your attacks, because a lot of your attack power comes from your chain. How many hits have you gotten before you lost your chain? So obviously, if you get hit, you lose your chain. If you just wait too long before making the next hit, you lose your chain. So you are trying to get the optimal continuous chain to never get hit, to max out your power, and make sure that you are balancing your mana in a way that lets you keep using your abilities without getting stopped.
That's pretty cool.
When it works, you feel like a god, which Gwendolyn canonically is. She's the daughter of a god. Anyways, the point is you feel awesome. You feel so powerful. The same goes for Cornelius, but with his different moves. By the way, he has the sword pogo, like in Hollow Knight. And I was like, Hollow Knight copied this game. His isn't as fun, though. The Hollow Knights is much more fun. Anyways, the point is, it is such a batshit crazy game, from story to character design to combat. Everything about it just threw me for a whole new loop. Every time I got farther along, I was like, oh my god, this story is insane. These characters are fucking wild. There's this whole subplot of these people that got turned into little bunny people because
wonderful.
Their king's wife died and he got mad and exploded their entire nation and they all got cursed. It's really weird. It's crazy. Anyways, all of the stories are interconnected. So if you want to get the full picture of the game, you have to play all 5 of the stories. Now, they're not really that long. I think Gwendolyn's story took me about 10 to 12 hours to beat. And this could loosely fall into the category of JRPG adjacent. I wouldn't necessarily call it that. It is more of a hack and slash, but it's JRPG flavored, if you will, as far as the story goes. So if you're into hack and slashes, you're into wild, melodramatic stories and really beautiful hand-painted environments, sick character design, and a fun soundtrack, go back and give Odin Sphere a try. That game holds up in the present day as long as you're playing the remaster at least, and it is just you'll be surprised. I'll say it that way.
Nice.
It might not be all good, but you will be surprised.
Very cool. Very cool. Before we got too far into this too, Snooty Boots also gave us a surprise for him, which rolls nicely into one of my surprises. So I'll share it really quick. And he says that one of his surprises would have to be Guilty Gear Strive. I was never really into 2D fighting games. I played some Mortal Kombat here and there when a friend wanted to, but that's about it. Picked up Guilty Gear on a friend's suggestion and I've now logged in over 300 hours in it when I was expecting to play it every now and then with friends. Bringing to one of my picks, and it's recent.
Tekken.
It's Tekken 8.
Yeah, good
because,
choice.
I've talked about this a lot this year. Since this year, I did start playing both Mortal Kombat 1 and Tekken 8, and really chose that this is going to be the year that I dove into fighters and gave them a fair shake. And similar to Snooty Boots with Guilty Gear Strive, that's how I was with Tekken. Like, it's been so fun. I haven't put 300 hours in yet, but I'm making a pretty good. I'm about to hit 100. Pretty soon.
Nice.
I think I'm almost to 80-ish. I'm like 75-ish hours in.
I'm assuming I'm about the same. I feel like I haven't played much more than you. We might be neck and neck.
I've been on a little tear this last week playing, practicing for the Dragunov.
Oh yeah, the Dragunov.
Which actually is tonight if you're listening on release day. So if you're listening and want to come hang out and play some Tekken with us, hit us up on the Discord. But anyway, so I've been practicing for that and getting into it. But that just reminds me again, just how quickly I stuck to it, or like I took to Tekken, and it's been one of those things too of being like it's been very cool, both in Tekken and Mortal Kombat, but it's been very cool. They are probably one area of my gaming life, and dare I say normal life, where I can notice improvement from where I started to where I am right now.
Nice.
Like, I'm getting better.
Look
This
at me
feels
go.
good. Yeah, and like I'll get on a new tear. I got and broke the warrior curse and finally got into assailant the other day.
Very nice.
It dropped immediately back down to warrior, but we ignore that. I'm back
Hey,
in
you got
assailant
there.
now.
There you go.
I got there though. That's the important thing. But it's just one of those things I didn't expect to like a fighting game as much. True, it's been a lot of fun having like the community with us, all of us here with you, Bro Mogan, Snooty Boots, everybody who's been Brandon,
Super
who's been playing
Saiyan,
with
Brandon,
who's been playing with us. It's been fun to have that community around it too. But but the same thing with like Snooty Boots. I am having a hell of a good time just going in on my own, playing in ranked, playing in quick matches, and then obviously playing with everyone.
Sometimes I just like to go into practice mode
Yeah,
and just pick
and just play
characters that I
around.
don't really play and like, oh my God, they do crazy shit in here because the practice mode is beautifully fleshed out.
And it's one of those things too. It's like the story of Tekken is crazy. It makes no sense. The characters are crazy, and honestly, don't make a lot of sense either.
I dare say,
and all the various like things that come together. I remember playing the story of Tekken 8 and being like, "What?" And that's like every time I hear something new about it, that's exactly my reaction. But so with that combined and it just being a new genre that I really haven't ever played, other than like what Snooty Boots said, dabbling in a Mortal Kombat here and there, I did not expect to get hooked on a fighting game near as much as I did with Tekken 8. And for that, I would say it's definitely a surprise.
Tekken 8 is, Tekken as a whole, you want to talk about a game with some batshit crazy lore.
Yeah.
I dare say Tekken's story might be wilder than Odin Sphere's.
It's up there for sure.
It's up there.
and it is one of those things too. Another fun surprise that's come from Tekken is that like we talked about in the Discord that recently the news was made that Heihachi is coming back. He's not dead.
Another surprise.
Which
Unless you're like me
was-
and you're like, I know they're bringing that bastard
Which,
back.
I mean, sure, that made sense that they were going to be doing that and bringing him back. But as a new Tekken player, and this is what I said in the Discord, is like, growing up, I saw Tekken in like arcades, and I saw Heihachi's face everywhere, and his spiky hair, and like that was like so, just like it burned in my brain.
His spiky hair, even though he is bald, so
Yes.
the spikes are just his like...
Just his like side head.
yeah,
It's
his
great.
side head.
But like, so it's, so it's like you're used to seeing that character, and then when I finally decided to get into Tekken 8 with it
He's
coming
dead.
out, he's dead and he's not in it. I was like, well, shit, that sucks. Oh well, keep going. So now that he's back, this is exciting times because now I get to actually play Heihachi and see how I like him.
I am so curious to see which of Heihachi's outfits they brought over from the past, because like each of the characters has their two like default skins, which is usually their main color and then a slight recolor of that, and then they have like a throwback, like a wild skin, like something that's totally different from their other outfits, and then they have a throwback skin, and the throwback skin for most of the characters is probably harkening back to Tekken 7, but like for example Jun Kazama, hers harkens back to Tekken 2, because that's the last time she was really in one of the games. So I'm really excited. Like, are they going to pick one of Heihachi's old outfits? I know that doesn't really matter to most people, but it matters to me.
I mean, that would be pretty sweet.
Care.
In Mortal Kombat, they've been doing that. They've been releasing a lot of like skins for Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and all that stuff like that, or for any of the characters who've been around that long. Some of their like Mortal Kombat Ultimate 3 skins and stuff like that that you can earn in the seasonal stuff, and it's pretty cool to see that stuff too. But yeah, nice. Tekken 8, had to give a shout out.
Very good choice. Well, my next surprise is not going to be a surprise to listeners of the show. You've definitely heard me talk about this one before ad nauseum. Well, maybe not ad nauseum, but at least for one really solid full review.
Okay.
I'll give you some hints. It came out about, I want to say 2 to 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
It's an indie game.
Independent game.
Came out of fucking nowhere.
Fucking nowhere.
And was just so much crazy, wild fun. It either was or was very close to being my game of the... I think it was my game of the year.
Wait.
If it wasn't, it was in my heart. I think I did pick it, though.
Let me... Is it an RPG?
No.
Okay.
It's not. It's an action game. It's a first-person action game. Speed matters.
Oh, Neon White.
Yeah, Neon White. Neon White is so weird and cool and awesome and perhaps in its own way, in its own realm, potentially a perfect game.
Really?
Because as far as like what Neon White is trying to do, because the premise of Neon White is, I feel like, something that no other game had done before this, which is combining speedrunning with a shooter with cards.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Because the way that Neon White works is it is a first-person, I want to put big air quotes around this, it is a first-person shooter, but all of your abilities are linked to like basically physical playing cards that you get out and about in the levels that you're on. And the goal of Neon White is to speed run those levels. So ideally, each of these levels will take you max 30 seconds. Like if you're real, now some of them obviously cannot be done that quickly, but once you start to really get the rhythm of Neon White, which is really important for being able to play the game in a really fun and rewarding way, once you get that rhythm down, you're just absolutely blazing through those levels to get those sweet, sweet ace medals at the end, which indicate that you have gotten the best possible time that there is within a certain fraction, of course. So as you go through levels, you can pick up abilities like regular gun. I think that there's the pistol. Oh yes, that's one of the key, sorry, I'm remembering as we talk about it. That's one of the key interesting things about Neon White is that each of your cards has 2 abilities. Its face value ability, which is usually a gun of some sort. So for example, when you pick up yellow cards, they're the pistol. You can either shoot it like a pistol, but you wear down that card's ammo. And if you don't pick up another one, it will just disappear. Alternatively, you can spend that card outright to get its secondary ability, which in the case of the pistol is like a high jump. So you can do a regular jump as your character's name is Neon White. Yes, this one's easy. So your main character, Mr. White. So your main character, Neon White, as he's going through these levels, you can either spend those abilities just to get the movement from them, or you can use them as their projectile weapon value. So like, for example, the bazooka, which is a really fun one. Fun. I think the bazooka cards have maybe 2 or 3 rounds of ammo, so not a lot. Or you could use a big long-distance grapple ability with it, but only on specific grappleable points around the map. Or you can use, for example, the red cards are the shotgun. So you can do a really satisfying shotgun because part of the goal of each of the levels is they are full of demons. Because the story of Neon White is that you're in hell. And the angels are like, hey, we've selected sort of Squid Game style, a selection of demons to help us take care of our demon problem, because we've got all these demons floating around over here. We figure who better to take care of them than other demons.
Sure.
And if you do a good enough job with that, we'll take you out of hell. You'll get to go to heaven. Won't that be super nice? It's very sketch. Something is definitely going on in the margins as far as the story goes, but that's the premise, is that you are going through these levels. You have to eliminate every single demon in the level to even unlock the end point, because the end point is very defined. It's basically like a race. You're racing from point A to point B, and you have to kill every last demon on the way and not get killed in the process.
Oh, wow.
And
How much health do you have, or is it one-shot kill?
I am trying to remember that. Some of the specific enemies are one-shot kills. Otherwise, I think you do have some sort of health bar. It's not a lot. Like, you can only take a few hits before you are dead. I want to say 3, maybe 3 or 4 hits before you're dead. Neon White is not a particularly sturdy boy. He's real skinny. So the parts of the game that I think people won't like are maybe the heavier anime stylings. And what I mean by that is some of the story is borderline anime cringe. I think for me, I got a lot of fun out of it, but I think for other people, they might be like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. But I found all of the side characters, especially Garfield in shades smoking cigars. He's fantastic. Forgot what his name is right now, but you get the idea. It is wacky, it's weird, and the gameplay is so unique. Neon White just came out of absolutely nowhere and became one of the best games I've played in the last 5 years, easily.
Nice. Very good pick. Very good pick.
Another game that holds up exceptionally well. It's only a few years old, and it will be timeless forever because it has a very unique art style.
That's true, which is always fun to see.
Always fun to see. So go play Neon White. It is amazing, and it goes on sale pretty regularly, I think. And it wasn't a full-price game in the first place because it's indie,
Very
published
nice.
by Annapurna Interactive.
They always put out the good ones.
They always
Them and
put out
Devolver,
those good
they always
games.
have the good ones. All right. So for another one of my surprises, I would love to circle back around to Life is Strange 1. Just kidding.
You can,
No,
if you
I'm
want
just
to.
no.
You totally can.
I did definitely put on my list, being like, "Oh, this is good," because it's like it directly parallels everything we didn't really love about the second one is what we did love about the first one. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing around. But I do want to have a better pick for this. So I will say though, which ones do I want to go here? Where do I want to go with this?
Dragon Age?
I mean, that's the thing.
Does that count as a surprise?
That's what I'm having a little bit of trouble with.
Yeah, what qualifies as being surprised?
What qualifies as being surprised? And it almost has to be like, I think, it almost like the surprises, because again, another game I want to talk about that was a surprise was, but I've talked about way too much to talk about again, is The Last of Us. In that it was like, I only saw a video of it, like some gameplay from maybe E3 or some other event in like 2012. The game came out within a year. And
so like the marketing machine,
the
hype machine wasn't really there.
For me, at least, I hadn't seen it. I like saw this like, it was like a 13 minute demo of the gameplay of it. And I just remembered being like, oh wow, this looks really cool. I'm sure I watched a trailer at some point, but I don't remember. And I just remember being like, this combat and gameplay looks really fun because it was showing a lot of stuff like Joel jumping out of a window, jumping over cover, bashing people with different weapons, and each of those and the enemies like reacting to that. The enemy AI seemed really well developed. And anyway, wound up just kind of being like, whoa, that's impressive and that's cool, but didn't know much about it. Then played the game and it becomes my favorite game of all time. So that was a surprise in and of itself. That's all I'll say about that. But in terms of a game that actually was like a legit surprise, well, again, another one that was a legit surprise. It's almost like the games that are recommended to me, but from other people, not that I choose myself, are the ones that are going to be the surprises. Okay. So, case in point, Bramble.
Oh, you know what? Great choice.
But again, we just talked about it. We just did a review. We just did, all of our streams.
But
and all
that makes total sense because, yeah.
It's like, that's Kirok being like, try this, just see.
You
just
got
see
a
how
fun
it is.
surprise.
Exactly.
I got a disappointment.
And so, it's like, but like, I didn't expect that game to be as wild as it is. But in terms of one that
Bramble is full of surprises.
It really is.
Boy, is it.
Which, speaking of, all the VODs are out now on our YouTube, so you can go watch those of our playthrough. But one game that I do think That's the thing, though. A lot of these games that I think are surprises too are ones that I've already talked about a ton. But I'm going to throw it back to a really old one because this is one that I legitimately, again, I picked up on a whim, and I was blown away by how good it was.
And we've talked about it before.
Long time ago, but yes.
Long time ago. Killzone.
Oh man, I was just really hoping you were going to just go right out the gate and say it, and I was like, damn, impressive.
So you think I could get it?
I mean, yes, but it's been a very long time. I will say what surprised me more about it is the level of story that I got from it at the time on the platform that I played it.
At the time on the platform that I played it. Ooh, that feels like a riddle.
A little bit.
Huh. At the time on the platform that I played it.
Like nowadays, I feel like if you... any guesses at all?
Did you play it on PC?
No.
Shit. The Nintendo DS.
I played it on my phone.
On your phone? Valiant Hearts.
Valiant Hearts,
yeah!
the Great War.
Wow, it has been a long time.
This is, I want to say Ubisoft is actually the developer of that game. And it's similar in kind of, I think, in that it's like a story. It's kind of like its art style. It seems of more like a storybook. And you're following the story. Well, 3 different characters, but the main character that you follow is Emile, who is a French soldier who is taken to the front lines of World War I. Well, actually, he's like just a French citizen who's then drafted and then has to go fight in World War I. And when you look at this game from the outset, you're like, this looks kind of like a light, I mean, it's about World War I, so you know it's not lighthearted, but it's almost like I'm really trying to struggle here with like a description of like, where it puts you at ease. It's like, it's very cartoonish. It's not necessarily dark looking.
And to be fair, most people aren't expecting narrative gut punches from mobile games,
which is what I wasn't expecting.
So the platform
and
makes
I know you could probably
sense.
play it on different things, but like this picture, like how would you describe this? It's almost like a.
Okay, so the color palette is kind of washed out, but not necessarily black and white. And the way that the characters are drawn,
colors.
It could come from like a slightly older than 5 to 6 year old children's book.
Right.
Like a middle.
Okay, so I'm not far off with like saying children's book.
No, I think that's pretty accurate.
But it does follow. You wind up following 3 characters, and you go through the story about their experiences in World War I. And it's very simple gameplay. It's like, again, it's basically you're just like touch screen. Sometimes there will be some like environmental puzzle you have to solve, some exploration looking for a hidden item, different things like that. But it's not like you're going out there. It's not like it's a shooter. It's not like anything like that. But it just tells the story of a man who finds himself thrust into a very horrible situation. And just how he winds up having to deal with that because like his daughter becomes a nurse who I believe falls in love with like a captured German soldier, and then there's also an American soldier who's coming over to fight in World War I, and all their stories intersect in different ways. But it really is at the very end, and again, this game came out quite a while ago, so I'll spoil. But it basically, there becomes a part at the end of the game where Emile knocks out and accidentally kills another French officer who's calling for a charge when it's just like it's going to lead to just a slaughter. And it's basically like to save the lives of all these soldiers, Emile does this act and winds up being court-martialed and then executed for it. Like he's hung. And it's just like I'm sitting here playing this and I'm like just sitting here holding my phone, just being like, "Fucking Emile." Like what is this? I don't want to be crying. Why am I crying playing a phone on my game? A game on my phone, you know, it's just like
Can you imagine if you had like been at the dentist's office just like in the waiting room? Because
like,
that's when you play mobile games.
And they're like, "Sir, it's time for your no.
Oh, I see you've gotten to the end
I
of
see you're playing Valiant Hearts." Yeah. And it just was this thing that I was just playing it for like the game I have 5 minutes, let me play really quick. But then I just kept getting sucked into the stories, and it was kind of the thing where it was like you could play the first like chapters of it, like 3 chapters, and then it's like, okay, well, you got to buy now like the next part of the game.
Right.
Kind of because early
mobile
stuff. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And I did it. Like I was a chump.
they got me.
They got me.
You.
And like I bought the expansions to finish out the story because I got to the end. I'm like, Well, that I just can't leave it here.
How much do you think the total game cost?
Oh, like
it
10,
couldn't
it's
have
still
been
like
much.
$10.
Yeah.
Like no, it's definitely not like it was breaking the bank
Probably
by any
like
by any
$1,
stretch.
maybe 50 cents per chapter.
Exactly, but it was one of those things where I was just like, well, shit, I have to see how this ends because it hooked me in so well with it because it was like had engaging little puzzles, had an incredibly great story to follow along with that really did just at the end of it, I was like, wow, that was incredible. And that's not at all what I was expecting from, and I know now that like now we're to the age where you can play Resident Evil Village on your phone or Assassin's Creed Mirage. Like it's ridiculous what you can play on them now. But for back then when the majority of the stuff was like Angry Birds.
Do you recall?
You were like, I was just like, holy shit, this is nuts.
Do you recall if Valiant Hearts was originally for mobile?
I don't think so.
I do know that it eventually got ports to other like more recent consoles, but I couldn't recall if it was made for mobile or not.
Okay, it's 20. You're telling me this is 2014? Okay, well that is 10 years ago.
Yeah, but that's 10 years ago. Ouch.
Okay, it did come out also. The game released for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. Eventually Xbox One in June 2014. And I know there is now a sequel.
Yes.
That just came out within the last year.
Yeah.
I have not had a chance to play it yet.
It can't possibly be a happy.
No, definitely not. Which is probably
really
why I'm
sad.
like, I don't know if I want to jump into that one yet. But for just the emotional punch that game had, it just kind of came out of left field because I was expecting serious subject matter, but maybe a more lighthearted take on it due to its art style and just kind of like how it was presented. But then, it proved me wrong.
I mean, it's like how you could say every Call of Duty game focuses on serious topics in that it's about war and killing, but then nobody's like getting emotionally charged about that. So it is there's a line. It's different.
So it was just one that I was just like, huh. At the end of it, I was like, no shit, didn't expect that at all.
I love that they got you with all of the different little tiny microtransactions.
They did.
That's so funny. But I'm sure that if you bought it on Xbox or any of the other platforms it came out on, it was probably more expensive because that's usually how it works. Back when I used to review mobile games.
Well, because you would buy the whole package.
Yeah, because but it was still usually a markup. Mm-hmm. So whatever the console version was, it was almost always more expensive than mobile because mobile game, like the platform, they know they're not going to get a full $15 to $20 out of you. They have to like max $10 and in small little increments to make it feel like it's not that much.
Yep.
Really good choice.
So, yeah, I was very surprised by that one.
Nice.
So what's another one of yours?
My final one is another former Game of the Year for me.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Not too much earlier than Neon White. And it beat out... Yeah, you already know what it is.
Can I take a guess?
Yeah.
Paradise Killer.
Oh, it's Paradise Killer. Yeah, it's definitely Paradise Killer. So you mentioned earlier that you feel like you've gotten the most surprises out of games that were recommended to you.
Because I just feel like normally if I'm going out to make the purchase,
you already know.
There's already something that I'm excited about with it.
You did some research.
Yeah.
You saw some ads. You heard somebody say something about it. You maybe like saw a little banner ad when you were clicking around on Google, or it was in the you might also like section on Amazon or GameStop's website. Somewhere or another, you already got exposed to that game if you're going to the store or purchasing it online without somebody else's input. This was a recommendation from somebody that does not recommend many games to me. So friend of the show and patron Zach.
Okay.
This is from Zach S. So we used to play Overwatch quite a lot together, and then of course that petered out. And then out of the blue, I remember getting a group text from Zach, and he was like, he's very brief with all of his texts. He's not an effusive guy, but he's like, you got to play Paradise Killer. It's the best game ever made. And I was like, a recommendation from notorious hater Zach S. It must be the best game ever made. He does not give those labels lightly. So not knowing anything about it, I went straight to the Nintendo eShop because I think at the time they weren't selling it physically. You could only get it in e-copy. So I went to the eShop. I looked at the art and I was like, yeah, what the fuck is this? It looked weird. It looked wild. That was an instant purchase for me. And I think, again, this is only one of those, like, max $15 to $20 games. So it didn't hurt the bank that much. So I bought it, zero expectations, at least with Neon White. I had seen a trailer before, like maybe a year before when Annapurna Interactive did their Annapurna Showcase.
Oh, yeah.
So I knew loosely what to expect with Neon White. With Paradise Killer, I knew nothing about it. So you boot up the game, and first of all, it's got this... It is 3D to an extent. It's like a fascinating mix of a 3D semi-open world with 2D characters, which I now know. At the time I didn't, but I now understand that that was actually a trend. I can't tell you for sure who set the trend, but the one that I think most people will know is the Danganronpa games.
Oh, okay.
Those had like these 2D standee flat characters that if you're just out and about in the built world, they literally rotate like on their 2D axis.
So like an old thing of
Yes.
I saw that happening in the Dark Forces when I was replaying that. It's remastered. Whenever you encountered like a stationary thing, like another person, it was the same thing. It was just a flat 2D image that just like
they kind of have to just like flip flop around to see you,
Yeah.
which I think is so funny. And I had never seen that before in Neon White. Excuse me, in Paradise Killer. I had never seen that before I played Paradise Killer, is what I'm trying to say here. So that was immediately alarming to me. But I didn't get to it until you literally jump into the world of Paradise Killer, which is, as you want to talk about like video game intros that are the best of all time, Paradise Killer's intro is incredible because the game starts and you are in this very flat, almost brutalistic, polygonal 3D world. So the shapes themselves are very austere, but the colors are wild. They're bright neons, they're glossy, like see-through textures, there's gold everywhere. And then your character, Lady Love Dies, is like in exile basically because she lives in this fabulous apartment in the sky overlooking Island 24, which is where she used to live with all of her other friends, I guess you would call them.
high society.
High society
Compatriots.
folk indeed, because they live in essentially an alternate dimension that is perhaps semi-adjacent to Earth. It is never fully explained, and honestly, I love that for them because it leaves the world really mysterious. But Lady Love Dies and all of the other inhabitants of the island are the elite class that serve like eldritch horror gods. And to serve those gods, they sacrifice millions of people
Jesus.
on the regular.
Jesus.
And the setup to the game is that Lady Love Dies gets a phone call up in her apartment because they need her to come back down to the island. They need her to come out of exile to do an investigation because she's a detective. So it's a detective game.
You do love those.
We do love those, especially me, noted Nancy Drew lover. So it's at its core an investigation and crime game, which I love. So she gets a call, she's got to come do an investigation. You literally get a running start, physically jump out of your magical apartment, and the intro song starts as you are skydiving into
That's
the
cool.
island. And
That's really
the
cool.
song slaps.
You've shared a lot of the soundtrack
it is
over time
so
in the Discord
good.
and stuff, and maybe on one of our music
Oh,
episodes,
yeah,
but like,
definitely.
it's some good stuff.
One of the best tracks I've ever heard in my life. Barry Epoch did the entire soundtrack for Paradise Killer. It is such an absolute nonstop banger to banger to banger. But that intro song really stands on its own as an absolute gem that I never get tired of. Anytime I need a little pick me up, I'm like, Siri, play Paradise. So you skydive into the island, and it is more of that weird, brutalistic environment, but you have to go investigate the crime scene, and there's like really graphic blood and guts everywhere, but it's like all really chunky polygons.
Yeah.
So it's very alarming, but it's kind of blunted by the way the graphics are designed. And then, of course, there aren't any other people in the game other than these static standees that you go around and talk to. And that's where sort of the more visual novel elements come into play. Visual novels is a subset of games that many people like me greatly enjoy. Some of them are terrible. Many of them, though, are incredible. And as far as like getting deep storytelling worked into a game, visual novels are some of the best ones for it. Danganronpa those games fucking go places.
That's what I've heard. I know nothing about them
they
other
are
than the like
crazy.
very mean looking bear.
Yes, Monokuma, the mean bear.
The mean bear.
You're not wrong about that.
Opening up a gay club called that. And then
The mean bear. Awesome.
but yeah, that's all I know about the series.
Yeah, so that was as much and probably less information than I had about Paradise Killer. And really just the TLDR is the visuals were surprising, the soundtrack was the surprise of the decade, and then the story itself and the way that the gameplay works, where you're exploring actually a pretty big island, and you can go almost everywhere. There are a couple of little power-ups here and there that you can get to make your movement in the world a little bit easier. Notably, I missed quite a few of them, and I still explored every last inch of that island, which you need to do to find clues, because every time you find a new clue, that opens up, at least for one or more characters, new lines of questioning. You have to question characters, interrogate them, check alibis, stuff that I love to do. It was so much fun. It was one of the weirdest games I think I've ever played, and I've played some weird games. Paradise Killer is weird. It's incredible. I would recommend it to absolutely everyone, even if the only game you play is FIFA. I don't think you'll like it, but I want you to play it. So Paradise Killer is definitely, I think, like the surprise of the past 20 years of gaming for me.
Very cool. Very cool.
Good old Paradise Killer.
Okay, I will round us out a little quick here with kind of more of my last one. I had a couple more that I was like debating between, but yet again, another one is one that I've talked about a lot lately.
Do you want to do a rapid fire section of honorable mentions?
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, because
We don't even have to explain them.
well, my last like true pick is Bastion. From Supergiant Games. I took it down. I haven't had a new place to put it up yet
damn
since I
it.
moved in here. But
I
you
just
okay?
bashed myself in the face.
I got a tooth.
Put it there.
Oh, just right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause
Oh,
when
that would work.
When the door
Next to my-
closes, people will be able to see it.
That's true. And then it'll be next to like my gaming shelf up there. Okay, yeah, I should
I
do
lost a tooth for that.
that. I'm sorry. Our team chat insurance doesn't cover that. I'm
Oh
sorry.
God.
But no, Bastion. I will really quickly and kind of like more in a way like roll in kind of all of Supergiant's games that I've played, because they are, each one of their games is a treat, and each one I believe has something very exciting and surprising in it. Bastion is a fantastic story of like this broken land that you just wake up in that used to be your home, and you have to like slowly put the pieces of your world back together. There's some incredible art design, incredible art design. It's very beautiful. Bastion stands out because they watercolored all of the backgrounds and everything for it, so it looks beautiful.
A labor of love.
The soundtrack by Darren Korb is fantastic. Like that used to be on repeat for, I like overdid it almost listening to the Bastion soundtrack, but it's so good. Go check that one out. And so I would just say Bastion overall was like an incredibly surprising game. One of my, for me, and again, another recommendation, as was Life is Strange. The first Life is Strange also was a recommendation. And so for my buddy Michael on Bastion. And I just think that all of Supergiant's games, again, small team, but they just put out some impressive work. And, their game, follow-up Pyre, also a great game that I loved and was surprising in like its gameplay, I would say, kind of this mix of like a visual novel with sports.
Death basketball.
Pretty much. It was also a very good time. And then I know a lot of people were surprised and have enjoyed Hades, and it's followed up Hades too. So I just had to give a shout out to the good old,
wonderful folks
Supergiants.
at Supergiant.
But hit me with an honorable mention. We'll list off a few.
Just a couple. Back in the day, Yearwalk.
Oh,
You've heard me talk about it before. That was one of those late night kind of. These were both late night kind of drunk Wii Shop channel purchases. So both Yearwalk and Child of Light.
Oh,
I knew nothing about Child of Light. It was on sale for 50 cents. And I was like, 50 cents, I'll take it. So
I feel like, again, another Ubisoft, like smaller Ubisoft title, also somewhat similar art style to Valiant Arts.
Yeah.
Was
I
it
would say
Ubisoft
so.
Montpellier?
Yeah.
Okay, that's who did Valiant Hearts.
Yeah,
I only knew that
yeah.
because I literally just saw one. I was looking it up. So
Montreal. No, it was Montreal.
Oh, it was Montreal?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't just pull that out of my ass. Let's see. Another one for me, one from two, actually, I would say, from Devolver Digital that were surprising. Katana Zero.
Oh, okay. Good choice.
Super fun. Again, similar thing where it's like you try to clear each screen in one run. You can slow down time, deflect bullets. But if you get hit, you have one shot kills and you have to reset the room. Very fun game. Again, outstanding soundtrack. Love that one. Another one from Devolver Digital that, again, talked about recently and a lot, but absolutely loved, Cult of the Lamb. Oh, yeah. So have to give those a shout.
I've thought about doing Cult of the Lamb, but at the end of the day, I feel like I couldn't really call it a surprise because I had been following it prior to release well enough that I was like, I know I'm going to love this game. So it wasn't really a surprise for me.
I think the surprise for me is what I've talked about where I saw the trailers like before. I started watching the trailers or paying attention to the trailers pretty close to its release, and then I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm doing it. This looks like a crazy good time. I didn't anticipate how much I was going to love it, and I think that's the surprise there for me. That I was like, because I was like, I like Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley was a fun surprise, honestly, too. But I was like, I like those parts that it pulls in, and I like the dungeon run parts of like Hades and other stuff like that, roguelite actions parts of it. I didn't anticipate that marriage being so fun of the two different game styles, and then eventually being like, you know what? Yeah, I should have picked Cult of the Lamb as my game of the year that year.
Yeah, oops.
Oopsies. Should have. So it was definitely a surprise how much I actually loved Cult of the Lamb. So
very good. Good choices all around.
Oh, yeah.
Lots
And thanks
of indie games on both of our lists.
Which is good to see.
Yeah.
I like that, honestly. I'm glad we didn't fill this with just all AAA titles.
It's kind of too bad that I don't really drink that much anymore because I got some great purchases from being a little drunk. We had just finished playing Overwatch. It was a Saturday night, and I was like, time to hit the Wii Shop channel.
See what we can
You
get.
see what's on there.
Oh, man. But you never know. You get a few good surprises from that
It's
every
never
once in a while.
too late to go back to drinking.
That's true. It's never too late for now, as they like to say in 30 Rock.
Oh, boy.
But with that, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us this episode. Thanks again, Snooty Boots, for the fantastic suggestion. It's two topics and knocked them out of the park. 2 for 2. That was great.
And definitely send us your video game surprises.
Yes.
Which ones took you by storm?
Yep. Send those to us by email at teamchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also comment below wherever you're listening to or watching the episode, or, of course, join our Discord and talk about it with us there. We'd love to hear from you. But with that, everybody, that concludes this episode. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Adios.